Good morning. Welcome. I'm Greg Oliver. I serve as pastor of this wonderful church, the Mount Canaan Baptist Church. Just inside these doors, the people of God come to worship and experience God. There will be praying, there will be praise, there will be preaching, there will be embracing of fellowships. We want to invite you in to experience God. There are several mountains in the Bible that are very significant to the journey of believers. We all know about Abraham offering Isaac on a mountain, Moses receiving the Ten Commandments on a mountain, Elijah having that great battle at Mount Carmel with the false prophets of Baal, and then Jesus Christ even teaching and giving what's called the Sermon on the Mount. And then God bless Mount Calvary. Great things that happen on the mountain. And we would like to, as best we can, to have something to happen every Sunday morning, every Wednesday evening, here at Mount Canaan on this mount. Get ready this morning for a message from the mount. You'll be blessed. Here is a good argument between Moses and God. A good heated debate. This is Men's Month. One of my professors in the seminary said that if you've never had a good argument with God, then you're not really close to him. If you've never had a good argument with God, you're not too close to him. If you're close to him, sooner or later he's going to say something or do something that you disagree with. This is Men's Month, and I want to start this Men's Month with a man having an argument with God. Exodus chapter 4. Then Moses said to the Lord, "Please, Lord," verse 10, "I've never been eloquent, neither recently nor in time past, nor since you've spoken to your servant. For I am slow of speech and slow of tongue." And the Lord said back to him, "Who has made man's mouth? Or who makes him mute or deaf or seeing or blind? Is it not I, the Lord? Now then go, and I, even I, will be with your mouth and teach you what you are to say." Moses argues back, "Please, Lord, now send the message by whomever you will," by somebody else. God gets hot, verse 14. The anger of the Lord burned against Moses, and he said, "Is there not your brother Aaron the Levite? I know that he speaks fluently, and moreover, behold, he is coming out to meet you. When he sees you, he will be glad in his heart. You are to speak to him and put the words in his mouth, and I, even I, will be with your mouth and his mouth, and I will teach you what you are to do. Moreover, he shall speak for you to the people, and he will be as a mouth for you, and you will be as God to him. You shall take in your hand this staff with which you shall perform the signs." I call this faith beyond your faults. faith to function beyond your faults. I know you have the mask on, but just say it so you can hear it. Faith to function beyond my faults. What an argument today between Moses and God. Rightfully so, when I think about the life of Moses, of course, you know that his life was separated into 40-year segments. Born as an Israelite in Egypt at a bad time when Israelite boys were being killed. God, through providential positioning, will have his bassinet to float into the bathing pool of the oppressor. And he'll be raised in Egypt as the son of the Son, the S-O-N of the S-U-N. Pharaoh was considered the sun god. Moses will be raised as Pharaoh's grandson in the palace. He's an Israelite being raised in an Egyptian palace as the son of the sun. His feet would never have to touch the ground. He'd be carried around in a sedan chair. He would never have to lift a finger to even eat. There were people there to feed him and bathe him. He would be educated. In the crown of civilization, we get astronomy and astrology, and even we get cuneiform, or we get the language, the picturesque writing from Egypt. That's where Moses was raised for his first 40 years of life. Second 40 years of life, he spends out in the pasture. He goes from the palace of Egypt to the pastures of Midian, keeping sheep. And on his 80th birthday, or somewhere around his 80th birthday, he meets God. I want to say something about that, because that means that Moses at 80 switches occupations. When most of us would be ready to retire, Moses finds another job. After being in Egypt, living in the lap of luxury, and then God takes him out in what I call preparation for the Exodus, because for the next 40 years, he's got to keep and lead Jethro's sheep. And keeping and leading Jethro's sheep, he is prepared to lead God's people. He switches jobs at 80. And God says to him, I've come to deliver my people from Egypt, and I'm sending you. And Moses, check it out, from chapter 3 to chapter 4, no less than 5 times, and this is the 4th time in the text, he gives God excuses. The first time he says, who am I that I should go and tell Pharaoh to let your people go? Next excuse, when I go down there, who am I going to say sent me? The next excuse in chapter 4, the people ain't going to believe me. Here it is, excuse number 4. I have a problem with speech. I've heard this preached several ways. My brother preached this years ago when I was a kid. He called it a stick and a stutter. And he suggested that Moses had a proper problem. But God used him with a stick and stutter. But my good friend Larry Hood gave me another interpretation of this text, and I kind of like that as well, because Larry Hood says that what Moses is saying to God is that I haven't been in Egypt for 40 years. I don't know the lingo. I don't know the language in Egypt. I've been gone so long until I don't know the language. That I like that a little bit, because that's like a whole lot of us who've come from some places and want to act like you don't know how to talk like that anymore. That's more fitting to most of the people I know in this room, that we act like we don't know how to talk like that anymore. We've gotten all prim and proper, and we don't know street language anymore. And you don't call me Junebug anymore. My name is Willie Jordan III. I'm Dr. Somebody. My name ain't Baby Sister T. Night. You don't call me that anymore. So we act like we don't know some things. And Moses says to God, I don't know that lingo anymore. I don't know that dialect. It's been 40 years since you cannot send me back to Egypt, because I don't know that language. I can't, I don't remember that. I've forgotten that part of my life. I'm somebody else now. You've delivered me from Egypt, and I ain't going back. Did your parents ever have you in church so much until you said, if I ever get out? Moses says, I'm not going back. I don't know that language. I'm not going down there to tell Pharaoh nothing, because I don't know how to talk. I can't think. My words get all tied up. Let me tell you by myself, I wish to God that I had the quick-witted mind of Dr. Harry Blake. I ain't lying. Boy, he could. I watched him in the convention, and I watched him in personal conversations. He was quick-witted. He was always thinking. He could come back real quick with something. I can't do that. I put too many foreign substances in my body and destroyed too many brain cells. I think about stuff 2 or 3 days later, and then I want to call you and cuss you out about what you said 2 or 3 days ago, because I thought about what I should have said then. Moses says, I'm not quick on my feet. I haven't been, and I'm not even now that I'm talking to you. And God says to him, have not I made the mouth? Have not I made the eyes? Now, Moses, let me tell you something. You go down there, and I mean right now, and I'm going to be with your mouth, and I'm going to teach you what to say. Moses said, Lord, please send somebody else. And verse 14 says, God gets angry. And God says, listen, I'm going to send Aaron to meet you. Your brother's going to be glad to see you. You go down there and you talk to Aaron, and Aaron will translate it to everybody else that's in the area, and the Pharaoh, and to everybody. I'm going to be with both of your mouth. He shall be your mouthpiece, and you shall be to him as God. And don't forget to take your stick with you. I want to speak to not just brothers, but I want to speak to some sisters who think that you're not enough for God to use. And you and God have this same argument. You have a passion for certain things, but you think that you are not the right property to make change, that you are not the right person to cause change. God, I do think that the Israelites need to be delivered from Egypt, but I think somebody else needs to do it, because I'm insufficient. I want to talk to some brother in here today during Men's Month who thinks that he's not enough just because he has a fault. You don't know this name. Maybe you do. Derek Coleman. Derek Coleman was a backup fullback for the Seattle Seahawks the year that they won the Super Bowl. Derek Coleman was the backup fullback for the Seattle Seahawks the year they won the Super Bowl. What you don't know, that he was the first NFL player in history that was deemed legally deaf. He could not hear. Backup fullback, made it to the NFL, played, got a ring, but couldn't hear. People told him that he couldn't make it, that he would never make it in the NFL. He had a fault that he had to overcome. I can see Moses here saying, not just Derek Coleman has a fault because he can't hear, but God, you can't use me because I can't speak. He says, I have a preconceived deficiency. Do you see that? He says, I can't speak. Preconceived deficiency. Nobody ever told him he couldn't be used by God because he couldn't talk. He told himself. Matter of fact, when you read Acts chapter 7, around about verse 22, when Stephen, the deacon, is preaching an Old Testament text and preaching a New Testament principle from an Old Testament text, and he gives the history of Israel, he says, Moses, a man who was mighty in word and deed. Stephen said Moses could speak. Which means if Stevens in the New Testament is preaching Moses in the Old Testament, Stevens is saying Moses, when he talked to God, was lying. Because Stephen says he was mighty in word and deed. So his preconceived deficiency was irrelevant because God doesn't need perfect speakers to speak his perfect word. Paul even says in 1st and 2nd Corinthians, he says, when I came unto you, I didn't come to you with excellency of speech. He says, but I came to you even though I had several degrees and I'm a Pharisee of Pharisee. He says, I came to you knowing nothing save Christ crucified. He says, I didn't say it elegantly. He says, matter of fact, to the Jews, it was a stumbling block, and to the Greeks, it was foolishness. He says, I didn't come crossing all of my T's and dotting all of my I's. He says, I just came, excuse this, talking about Jesus. It's irrelevant. Your fault doesn't matter to God. Not only is it irrelevant, but by the fact that you keep parading your fault to God is irreverent. Preachable. God said to Moses, who you think you're talking to? What you perceive as a fault is not necessarily saying you got a problem. Let me hold on with both hands when I say this. To perceive that you have a fault is not saying you got a problem. It's saying your manufacturer has a problem. You saying, I made you wrong. I knew you had a problem when I showed up and set this bush on fire. I didn't show up and set this bush on fire in front of a perfect person. I showed up and set this bush on fire because I want you to know by the fire of my presence, I make the imperfect perfect. God doesn't call the qualified, God qualifies the call. Hold me, Holy Ghost. You're saying I made you wrong. What you call a fault is not that you are faulty, but you were manufactured wrong. Brother, when you say that you are a woman trapped in a man's body, you're not saying you got faults. You're saying that God made you wrong. Sister, when you try to be a man, you are saying God made you wrong. Black folk, when you're trying to be white, you're saying that God made you wrong. When you're fat and you're trying to be skinny, not healthy, you're saying that God made you wrong. That's what God says to Moses. Who do you think you're talking to? I made your mouth. Hold on, stay with me. Don't y'all go to sleep, because this is a good text. It might not be a good sermon, but it's a good text. Moses says, I have a fault, I had it, and since you've been here, I still got it. Which means that either you made me faulty or you lacked the force to correct me. You were either faulty in creation or you lacked the force for recreation. That means you can't even fix my fault. That's an insult to God. That if you were born wrong, God can't cause you to be born again. Y'all will catch that later. God can fix it. Hey, look here. God can fix what's broken. Don't you ever think that just because you give it to God broke, that he can't give it back to you fixed. God can fix it. I want to speak to somebody that's dealing with something now that's not functioning as designed by its designer. God can fix it. He can fix your marriage. He can fix your health. He can fix your finances. He can fix your broken joy. He can fix your broken love. God can fix it. Do I have a witness up in here that you had some stuff that was broken and you gave it to God and he fixed it? It's preconceived deficiency, but the Lord has predetermined dependency. God says the reason that you're faulty is because I designed all along for you to lean on me. If you had everything, God would have a problem being God in your life. If you had, God can't give you everything. You can't be that good looking and smart and rich. You can't have everything because you won't lean on the Lord. Paul says it this way in 2 Corinthians. He says, we are earthen vessels, cool whip bowls, so that the excellency of the power will be of God and not of us. God can't give you everything. You know, if you had everything, you wouldn't be here today. Church is full of people with faults. People that stayed at home got everything. And we think that you got to have everything to come to church. No, I come to church because I ain't got some stuff, and I know only the Lord. I wish I had some help in here now. He created us faulty so that we could lean on him. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I've said it a couple hundred times. God created you with a hole right here in your chest on purpose. When he blew into Adam the breath of life, he blew a hole in Adam that only God can fit. Money can't fill that void. Relationship with people can't fill that void. Education can't fill that void. Trophies can't fill that void. Accomplishments can't fill that void. Only Jesus can sit in that seat. He says, Moses, you can count on two things. Number one, you can count on my presence. I'm going to be with your mouth. But then you can count on my pedagogy. I'm going to teach you what you need to say in the context whereby you're going to be. When you get there, you are going to know what you need to know, and you're going to say what you need to say. You're going to have to depend on me. You're going to have to trust in me. He says, I designed you not to make it by yourself. Lord, this is so preachy. He says, I've designed you to only make it when you're in relationship with me. So quit bothering other people who are going at it all by themselves. Your testimony should be, you might be able to do that by yourself. But as for me, if the Lord don't help me, I can't stand. The Lord can deal with a faulty heart that is submitted and dependent on him better than he can an unfaulty heart that's not dependent and submitted to him. Here's another one. You can never be too low for the Lord to use, but you can be too high. Moses, your fault is how I designed you. I'm in charge of your life. Every step. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord.
Oh my goodness, we are out of time, but we are not out of message. Listen, if you want to hear this message to its entirety or view the entire service, there's some wonderful singing and praying and fellowshipping. Go to mountcanaan.com. And you can click on our YouTube channel, or we're on Facebook as well. You can hear that entire message. Listen, watching it on television and watching it streaming is nothing like actually being here to experience it. So make plans to be here. Today we have an 8 o'clock service. We have an 11 o'clock service today. We have Sunday school at 9 o'clock. We want to see you in the place. God bless you. See you next time.